All right, guys, we're back. Got another video here for you all. And this video is actually going to be a continuation of my previous video, which was discussing 5 things that I thought Ashes could learn from New World. And as I mentioned in that video, this video is going to go the other way around, and it's going to be focused on discussing 5 things that I think that New World can actually learn from Ashes. Now, keep in mind, Ashes of Creation is a pretty long ways from actually being released, so some of the stuff I talk about in this video are more philosophies than stuff we actually see in the game already. But Steven and Intrepid have gone into pretty insane depth upon their game development philosophies and what they actually intend to have in this game. So I think it's still relevant, and I still think that it's something that New World can learn from. But before we do go into the main part of this video, I do just want to say, if you're not already subscribed, consider hitting that button to support the channel and stay up to date. Also, likes and comments really help the video reach more people, help us grow this awesome community, so I definitely appreciate those. But with that said, let's get into the video. So the first thing that I think New World needs to work on is communication. And this one's slightly ironic. For those of you who have seen a bunch of my content, you may know that I have actually criticized Ashes of Creation on this front. I have said that I think we need better and more communication. But I guess the point here is that just because I want more from Ashes does not mean they're doing a bad job at it. They actually do a pretty good job compared to most other game studios. It's just that with them doing the open development, I think having even more and better communication is important. And honestly, Amazon Game Studios is about the perfect example of just absolutely terrible communication. So for example, they were supposed to have a dev stream about, I think it was half an hour before the servers actually went live. So I was preparing to, watch that dev stream and go into the game with a general understanding of some of the known issues, the direction they're taking things, just like, a sense of what was going on here. But for some reason, the servers randomly went live about an hour before they were supposed to, and so we all rushed to log in, obviously before queue times had happened and all of that, and I didn't even think about the live stream. To be honest, I don't even know if it actually happened. But, I mean, that's on them to not put the servers live before actually doing the live stream, because I think the live stream at that point was very important to get everyone on the same page and understand what was going on. Whereas, Ashes of Creation has had a dev stream every month for years. I actually haven't watched the dev stream that happened today. I'm probably going to be watching that a little later tonight on stream, but they're also very active on their Discord, Twitter, Instagram, and the forums. Whereas, New World has told us that they would have an official Discord ready by this time. Still no official Discord. The only Twitter posts on the day of the launch was actually a retweet from Tim the Tatman, which was kind of weird. But then when there were server issues and other problems with the game, the only place to find any kind of information was on the forums. And at least from my experience, the forums are the least used medium or social media that people look to nowadays. I mean, they are used, but I mean, if you just want a quick glance of some information, you're going to Twitter, you're going to Discord, you're going to these other platforms. So I think New World should definitely take a note from Intrepid's book here and start using all of their social media platforms. It helps you foster a community and promote a good customer experience. So come on, Amazon. That kind of leads right into the second topic I have, which is server reservations or queue times. So on launch, our server and a bunch of the other US servers had over 3-hour queues. And I know some of the South American servers apparently had 10,000 people in queue at one point. And that was not because they all wanted to be on a certain server. It was because there were not even enough servers brought up in South America. And I could be wrong here, but I was told that the max concurrent players on one server was 1,000 people. So with 10,000 people in queue and 1,000 people on each server, obviously something's wrong there. And Amazon should have known this, right? they should have seen their pre-orders. They should have like had some idea of what was going on, and at least had like a bunch of servers ready to spin up, right? They don't actually have to launch them all like right off the bat, but as you see these queue times stacking up, say, okay, here's a bunch of new servers really quickly. And they did launch some new servers, but I think they launched like 3 at one point. And people were just like, wait, what? You think 3 is going to fix this issue where one server has 10 times the amount of people to fill a server in queue? Okay. But I guess that's the question is, do they even understand the gamers? They kept telling people on populated servers to go join other servers, but do they understand that people have already invested time on a server and leveled something up, and they have friends and guildies on certain servers? So I think they can once again take a lesson from Ashes. And once again, we haven't seen this yet, but this is a philosophy. It's something Steven has said multiple times, is that they plan on having server reservations. So you'll be able to register yourself and a guild on certain servers. So it'll allow you to see who else is planning to be on your server. It can help you avoid large streamer servers or avoid huge Zerg guilds. But if you and or your guild decide they want to be on this overpopulated server and you have to deal with large queue times, then at least that's on you. You chose to do that rather than just choosing a server, investing a bunch of time, and then finding out that, oh, this server has huge queue times, it's overpopulated, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully on game launch, they have a month to sort some of this stuff out. I would think that they would want to get server reservations up within, at least a week before launch, so they can kind of get people to choose a few servers, look at them, jump around, and then come back and have a finalized list of where you're going to be starting. All right, and the third thing that I think New World did absolutely terribly is just the quests. And this is not necessarily something that they just have to look to Ashes of Creation to learn from. It's something they could go to any major MMO or any major RPG and learn from. I mean, it was probably one of the biggest complaints I heard about New World. The quests are just simplistic and boring. Like, New World basically has just 2 types of quests: run to this area and kill mobs or loot chests. I mean, you could literally like have a 5th grade English class write essays on a bunch of quests, and you'd come up with more variety and better quests. Like, it's honestly just lazy. I don't know what they were thinking with these quests. There's no variety. And I am over exaggerating a little. There were a few quests that were a little different, but for the most part, they're all the exact same thing. And especially for the amount of money they've spent on this game, I mean, Ashes already at this point in the Alpha 1 has better quests and lore. That's the other crazy thing. Like, all the lore in New World comes from finding these pages on the ground. They spent so much money on voice acting, and they don't even use the voice acting to like build the world or do anything with it. Just like, oh, just in case you didn't know that you were running to this location to kill monsters, this character will tell you with a really cool voice acting. And the fourth thing is just a completely broken and abusable system, which is how fast travel, death respawns, and death penalties work. And so for those not familiar, there are a bunch of people basically abusing how the fast travel and death respawn system works in New World. So it's allowing them to bypass the Azos system to transport goods. And then also with how the town board quest works, they can jump between all these different areas and just quickly bang out all of these quests to get leveled up insanely fast. And what they're abusing is basically when you die, and there's no penalty for dying other than a little bit of durability loss on your gear, which is basically nothing. You get to choose your respawn point, and you can respawn at a house you've bought in a node, at a tent you can set up anywhere in the world, and the closest node, basically. And so you're able to just teleport all over the world by killing yourself, just like from point to point to point if you've set everything up appropriately. And it's just a completely broken, completely abusable system that anyone who actually plays RPGs would have seen coming from like a mile away. I don't know how they let this system slip through and be a part of the game this close to launch, but they better have that fixed on launch, or everyone's going to be 60 within a couple days of launch, and 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 then as I said earlier, I don't think there's that much of a gameplay, like an end game gameplay loop. So we'll see how that goes. And obviously, I've already come up with some ways that the Ashes of Creation death system can be abused. But hopefully, we're going to identify and get any of those abuses or problems fixed well before a month from the launch of the game. All right, and the fifth and the final thing here is just risk versus reward. It kind of goes along with what I said earlier, how there's no penalty for death, so people are just abusing the system. And this is kind of a core fundamental problem with this game. There just is no risk versus reward associated with really anything in the game. I mean, it's supposed to be a PvP game, right? It's supposed to be like, that's supposed to be the core gameplay loop, is fighting each other. But what exactly are we fighting over in this game? I mean, the only thing that you really risk losing is if your guild controls one of the hamlets. Like, if you control one of the hamlets, then you don't want to lose it because you do gain some benefits, but the benefits from controlling it aren't even that great. Like, you get some extra gold and you get taxes and you get to choose what crafting things you want to have up. But gold doesn't, I mean, I haven't really found much of a use for gold in this game. I mean, the game does not seem to have a very good economy in general because people, first of all, are leveling up so fast. Like, your leveling up gear doesn't matter, and then all your end game gear comes from grinding stuff out in dungeons because the RNG from dungeon gear is apparently better than most of the crafted gear. So there's just really no point. And like, you're not even encouraged to try and stop an enemy from destabilizing your territory, right? So destabilizing territory means they run PvP missions in your zone, and there's 3 of them. They're always the same. So you just run this boring loop of doing PvP missions to try and destabilize. And if you run PvP missions, at the same PvP missions, and you kill off the enemy and you stop them from doing it and do your own, you prevent them from destabilizing. But the enemy can just organize a crew to get together at 3 a.m. and come in and run a bunch of PvP missions, and you wake up to a siege anyway. You're not like, no one wants to play a game where you have to be up at all hours and you'll get like an alarm call from people that, oh, get on now, it's 3 a.m. It's like, no, we have lives, we have things we want to do. And so, yeah, I guess I literally can't find anything in this game that is risk versus reward or something that I really feel like we should be fighting over. So it just kind of feels like the game is a little bit flat. Like, what's the point of it all anyway? You haven't tapped into the true motivations of the players and given them something or reasons to play and fight. Now, with that being said, I still am going to play New World on launch. I'm definitely going to get my $40 worth out of it. It's going to be fun to play with friends and the guild for a while and just kind of goof off and test out the game and see where it goes. And honestly, they could still have a bunch of new stuff planned for launch that we haven't seen in the game yet. That would only make sense. But at the moment, from what I've seen, and I didn't dive that much into the end game like gameplay loop, but the game feels very flat, especially for what Amazon was claiming this game was going to be. They kind of claimed it was going to be this massive, awesome, new style RPG that was going to be their flagship launch for Amazon Game Studios. And they've been rumored to have spent over $200 million on it. And yeah, whereas where the video I did earlier, the last video, was things that Ashes could learn from New World, they were all like minor things, right? They were cosmetics and sounds and like saying like, hey, those are easy things to implement. Whereas the things that New World is failing at, that Ashes has, are core systems. They're developmental philosophies. These are big things that are not easily changed. And I honestly hope I'm wrong. I hope New World is a huge success, has a really fun and engaging endgame gameplay loop, endgame loop. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So I really hope it is successful. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and we'll see you on the next one.